Hello, I'm Miss Diane from the Ridgefield Library. Today we're going to explore making mobiles, and I'm going to show you two projects today. One is very simple and one is a little trickier. So mobiles are a type of art that moves. So they're really fun to watch because every time you look at them, you might see them a little differently. The first mobile we're going to make today, I gathered some things from nature. You can also gather things around the house. It doesn't matter where you get your things, but I thought this would be a nature theme mobile. This is the easier one. I found myself a nice stick. This is from a beautiful white birch tree. Found myself some little mini pine cones. There we go. I found some beautiful rocks that have mica in them, so they're sparkly. And some pieces of bark. And some of the pieces of bark, I was lucky because they have a little bit of moss on them to make them even more interesting. So what I did with my things from nature, I also got some jute. This is a special kind of string. This is made from nature as well. It's made from plants. You'll need a pair of scissors to cut the jute in lengths that you would like to dangle from your stick. So that'll keep you busy for a little while. Just wrap your jute, your twine around the objects. Double knots are good so they don't fall apart. And there's the pine cone. Woohoo! Spinning around. All ready to be moving in our mobile art. So I've tied all of my rocks together and my bark together, and I did that earlier today. So I have 1, 2, 3 great pine cones, and I tied 1, 2 sparkly rocks. Oops. And I tied 2 very interesting pieces of bark. I don't know what tree this came from. I'll have to think about that and find out someday. But to make it even more interesting, I wanted to use something that wasn't just from a tree or wasn't from the ground. I wanted to add a creature. So I went on the internet and I saw a great site that showed me how to make a origami bird. So I'm going to add a bird to my mobile, and everything in my mobile is about nature, and everything came from the environment, even the paper that made the bird. Now, before I made my origami bird, I tried to think if I had any origami paper. No, I don't have any at home. But then I thought about wrapping paper. And wrapping paper usually has color on one side and not on the other. So it's easier to make the folds. It's easier to know which way you're folding the paper. So I got a piece of wrapping paper and made sure it was in a square. And I've included a link to this bird on the description of the program today if you'd like to make this bird. But you could do anything. You could do all origami things, which would really be cool if you like to do origami. So now it's time to put these things together to make our mobile. With our stick, starting with our special stick. Where's my stick? Oops. I had another one behind me, a little bit longer. Take some of that twine and tie it on one side of the stick and tie it on the other side of the stick. Now, mobiles are all about balance. You want it to be balanced. You want it to be straight. Right now you look at my stick and it looks nice and balanced, doesn't it? But if I make it look like that, it's crooked and it's not balanced and straight, and this way is not balanced and straight. So after you tie 2 strings onto your longer stick, you're going to put those strings together in the middle. Make sure it looks balanced, nice and straight, and have someone help you take those strings, wrap them around your fingers, and tie them into a knot. And that knot will keep it balanced and straight all the time. So now it's time to add our objects we found in nature, okay? I'm back. What I went to do was I went to get, this is a lamp in my house, and it has one of these arms that moves and extends to make the light get closer to you. So it's perfect for working on a mobile. If you don't have something like that that sticks out, for this type of mobile, you probably could use like a towel rack in the bathroom. But you know what I really like to do when I make mobiles in the library? I tape the mobile onto the table, then it dangles down to the floor, and I sit on the floor and work on my mobile. But today I'm going to work on it up here so you can see me better. And because the pieces are long, you won't really see them until it's all together, right? So I'm going to decide where I want things. I'm going to kind of plan. I did put my my origami bird on a string as well. So I'm going to plan where I think maybe the bird, maybe I'd like him to be in the middle because I only have one of those. So I'm going to tie him on. And remember what I said, 2 knots are better than 1 because then it will stay and stay. Maybe I'll keep mine up kind of short for you to see it better. But when you make yours, don't make them too short because when the strings are longer, they move better. But I'm going to keep them short so you can see. 1 knot, 2 knots. Maybe I'll cut that off. Now, mobiles are a little bit tricky to work with because they move around. I didn't tell you, I didn't really explain where they got their name. So the word mobile means moving. Like a car is very mobile when it's moving. Babies are very mobile. But they call these mobiles, and they're really spelled the same way. And they're always moving. So when you're working on your mobile, it's tricky because it's always moving. But I added my origami bird. I'm going to put a pine cone on either side. And it's moving, 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 moving. And that's okay. 2 knots are better than 1. 2 knots are better than 1. And I'll probably put a pine cone on the other side. But while I'm on this side, I'm going to put one of my pretty mica rocks. And 2 knots are better than 1. And the really cool thing about making this kind of mobile, and the thing that makes it easier, you don't have to worry about it becoming unbalanced because of weight. It will stay where it is because you put that nice knot in the top. 1, 2, 3, a pine cone for this side. And another rock. 2 knots are better than 1. Just want you to remember. And it does look most interesting if some of the pieces are longer and some are shorter. And I happen to make them kind of the same because I want you to see them as I'm working. But I'm going to put this rock longer because that's part of what makes a mobile look interesting too, are the different lengths. And because when things move, they won't bump each other if some are long and some are short. So here's a piece. I'm going to add this bark and make it a little bit longer too. And then I'm going to show you my finished mobile. Because this one's an outside theme, I'm going to hang this one on my front porch. So let's see how it looks. Yeah, there it goes. And it certainly is mobile, isn't it? It certainly is moving everywhere. Could you see? Could you even imagine seeing it on a nice windy day? And it would be so much fun to add maybe a few more origami birds. So this is my nature mobile, and that was lots of fun. Now, if you would like a bigger challenge, stay along with me, and I'll show you another mobile. I'm back. We're going to make another mobile, and it's a little bit trickier, as I said. First, I want to talk to you about an artist who made mobiles very famous. His name's Alexander Calder. And you might want to read a little bit about him, and we have books in the library. He made, he didn't invent mobile art. Mobile art's been around for a very, very long time, but he did create a lot of it in many different ways and became famous with his mobiles. So what the supplies you need for this trickier mobile, you're going to need glue. You're going to need some string that is not like the jute we used before. It has to be a little bit straighter, There, you can see that. 2 chopsticks or skewers. These are skewers. I took scissors, cut the tips off so they wouldn't be sharp. You're going to need a hole puncher. You're going to need some paint. This is acrylic paint. This worked better than washable paint. And you're not going to need some pictures or things to put on your mobile. Now, I looked in my pantry, in my cereal boxes. I found a really cool cereal box that had a lot of different optical illusions on the back. So I cut out all these little optical illusion squares. I painted the backs of them so they would look nice. Remember, they're going to move and they're going to spin around. So instead of seeing cardboard on the back, you'll see a color, and then you'll see the pictures that you've chosen. So this is lightweight cardboard. Paper really won't work as well. You really need something like heavier, like cardboard. You know what else works really well is that fun foam, those foam sheets you can buy at Michael's. So you'll need some paintbrush to paint with. So I painted these yesterday, and I took every picture that I have, and with my hole punch I made a hole in the top. Then took all of these little pieces and tied a piece of string on them. I've pre-tied some already. So each of the pictures I want to use, or the shapes I want to use, and they don't have to be square like these little squares. They could be all different shapes and even fatter and thinner things as well. But this is what's the tricky part. You need to put these in a cross shape like this, and they need to be tied in the center. If you have a hard time doing this, ask an adult, and they'll know to wrap this piece of string, a piece of string, around and around and around the center until it feels secure, and then they tie a knot. Now, I know it's a special knot that's name I don't know, but you wrap it around the middle when it feels tight, and like those sticks are going to stay together in that cross shape. Then you tie a double knot, 2 are always better, and hold it up to dangle. Now mine's not very balanced. This is all about balance. And when we make this mobile, balance is really, really important. It's part of the fun and what makes it challenging. Now if you see, these are not hanging straight. So I have to play with them, pulling one stick a little bit further. Actually, you try to make the sticks be the same length, and it's not quite right because the stick has to be fixed. So you pull them back and forth, and I think I've gotten it. I think to me it almost looks balanced perfectly. So when you feel it's balanced perfectly, you take your glue and put some glue all around that knot, because you don't want to lose your balance. When you're working on it, you could lose that perfect balance. So that's a perfectly balanced base for our mobile. So let's put our designs and see if we can keep it balancing well. I'm back. So I've taken out my lamp pole again to hang my mobile, but if I were in the library with you children making these mobiles, I would tape it onto the table, the string, and I would sit on the floor and work on my mobile. You don't need a lamp like this to do it, but oh, I put that perfectly balanced. It was balanced so perfectly, as you saw. I put that perfectly balanced base up here, but it's not balanced anymore. It's crooked, and it's a little bit hard for you to see because the skewers are so narrow, but then skinny. But that's because I've already put one of my pieces on one of these, we'll call these arms on the base. So I put one of these pictures on here, And when I let it go, it's going to drop down and it's not balanced anymore because this adds weight and there's no weight on this side, right? So I'm going to take another one and try to balance it. So to have something balanced, it has to be the same on each side. Just like if you use a fancy scale, maybe you've seen those, and you have to put something on one side. Oh, you know what it's like? It's like a seesaw. It's like a seesaw. It has to be the same. Now I put two things on, but they're still not balanced. Do you see how crooked that is? But that's okay. They weigh about the same, but this one is down towards the tip of the skewer, and this one is moved in a little bit further. So if I move this one in closer, slide it in closer, it did the trick. It's almost perfectly balanced. Let's move it some more, and now it's perfectly balanced. When you get it to be perfectly balanced as you're working, each time you add some glue. So do you see how that skewer is straight across, is perfectly balanced? One is longer than the other, but that's okay. So I would add some glue here and some glue here so they will never move. And you'll do the same thing with the other skewer. And you can add more things along the way. Or some kids, when we've made these in the library, they would take their hole punch holes on the bottom of these, and make it even longer. Then you have some more balancing to do. So what I would do is get all your strings in the exact places you want them to be and do your gluing all at one time. So this is going to be a challenge. It's a challenge for me every time I make a mobile like this. But when it's done, this kind of mobile moves much more than the first one we built because it moves this way and that way and it spins around. So it's really a lot of fun to watch. And if you put it inside, it's nice to put near a fan or near a vent near the ceiling or something like that. So I'll be back in just one moment. I want to finish my mobile and show you when it's done. Hi, I've just about finished my mobile. Clip off those long pieces after you've tied your double knots and you have a long like tail sticking out from your string. Make sure you clip them all. Now my mobile is almost straight, but I have to do a couple little tweaks. Maybe if I move one back a little bit more, it'll hang a little straighter. It's really fun pushing them back and forth, pushing the knots back and forth till it looks perfectly balanced. Well, mine looks perfectly balanced. When yours looks perfectly balanced, carefully put glue on every knot. Because as these blow, especially if you want to try it outside, as they blow, you don't want the knots to move around. I'll take mine and hold it a little bit closer for you. What I decided to do as I was adding more pieces, remember how I said it's more interesting if they're different lengths? So I made some of my strings shorter and some of them longer. So when it moves in the breeze, you can just look. I'll just give you a sample. Pretend like it's, there we go. Isn't that fun? It's very calming to watch mobiles. So I hope you make one too and have lots of fun watching it move. I'll see you another day with more fun crafts. Bye-bye.